Hey guys, Dr. Nathan Thompson here, and I want to go over with you the best way to exercise. Now, just a full disclosure, I think that if you're getting up and moving in some way, that's obviously going to be better than doing nothing. But if you're already exercising, why not make the most impact on your body to help you with fat loss and to help you with weight loss and to help you with muscle building? So typically when we set these weight loss goals or we set these fitness goals, most people think that the best way to exercise is to go out and run for long periods of time, to go on a treadmill or elliptical or a Stairmaster and do that for at least 20 to 30 minutes every single day, or sometimes hours every single day. Now, conversely, what we're going to talk about is known as high-intensity functional training. And this is actually what I believe, through looking through a lot of research, is the best way to exercise, that is the best for fat burning, that is the best for muscle building, actually will save you a lot of time because you don't have to do it for as much time as you do in traditional cardio. So, the first thing that we want to do when we're talking about how to exercise is we want to talk about your hormones. So when we're doing traditional cardio, which means we're doing this slow, steady state at a moderate pace, not spiking our heart rate up very much, and we're doing that for a sustained amount of time. So how does this influence your hormones? Well, with traditional cardio, the predominant hormone is known as cortisol. Now, cortisol is a stress hormone, and it's really good when you're under a lot of stress. But the problem is you don't want this hormone to be in your body for hours, days, months, and years on end. And one of the things that when you're doing traditional cardio is that you tend to be very cortisol dominant. Now, this stress hormone is responsible for a lot of things. It's responsible for poor sleep. It's responsible for putting on fat and actually breaking down muscle. It's responsible for cellulite, especially for women on the thighs and on the butts. And it's responsible for a lot of hunger cravings and a lot of blood sugar issues. So this is definitely, when you're exercising, you don't want to exercise in a way to increase cortisol. Now, conversely, when we talk about high-intensity functional training and the hormone response, high-intensity functional training is when you are doing a specific movement, most likely a movement that you need to do in everyday life. These are things like the deadlift, the squat, burpees, doing even sprinting and jumping, running. So you mix all these modalities together and they're done at high intensity, but you definitely want to do movements that are just going to make you better at everyday life. Now, with high intensity functional training, what you're doing is you're doing these movements in a very short amount of time at maximal intensity. And what we found is that the hormone response from high intensity functional training actually promotes growth hormone. And growth hormone is really good when you're trying to burn fat and build muscle. So this is actually an anabolic or a building hormone versus cortisol is catabolic, meaning it breaks down your muscles and it can break down your tissues. Now, number two, let's talk about the time domain of cardio versus high intensity exercise. So typically when you're doing cardio, you have to do at least 20 minutes to 60 minutes or 60 minutes plus in order to get into that elusive fat building zone. So if you do 20 minutes, you might have gotten to the fat burning zone for about maybe 10 minutes at the most. And the problem is when you're doing this moderate pace, steady state exercise, is that fat burning immediately gets shut off as soon as you're done with the exercise. So if you go on a treadmill for 20 minutes at a moderate pace, you might have only gotten about 10 minutes of fat burning. Now, when you talk about high-intensity functional training, this can be done as little as 2 minutes every single day up to 15 minutes. So you don't want to go above the 15 minutes too often, and it's very hard to maintain a high intensity beyond 15 minutes. So when you're doing high intensity and functional training, the time domain is a lot less. So it's actually going to save you a lot of time. Now, the key here, and the reason why you only need to be working out for a short period of time, is that when you're doing these movements and it's done at high intensity, because remember, intensity is going to be the king, is you're actually only burning sugar during that time, but because you do it at such a high intensity, afterwards, when you rest, you actually go into fat burning mode. And so now if you actually have your nutrition on point after you exercise, you then have the potential to burn fat for 24 to 36 hours when you're done. So the difference is here you may only be in fat burning for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes, but the key is here is that you can be in fat burning mode for 24 hours or 36 hours after you exercise. So that seems like a really good thing to be burning fat for a longer period of time. And the last thing is I want to talk about the adaptation to these different types of exercise. So with traditional cardio, a lot of people tend to just run, or they tend to just do the Stairmaster, or they tend to just do the elliptical. And so the adaptation that takes place on the body is that it adapts only to that movement. So the problem is that if you run for long distances, your body adapts to becoming a really efficient runner. And by that I mean that you then can lose the ability to do other movements. So a lot of people who do a lot of long duration cardio, they don't squat well, or they're not very strong because the body doesn't need that muscle anymore if the only thing that you're doing is running. So we tend to see people who lose the ability to be able to squat, to pick things up off the floor, and they tend to lose a lot of strength, but they tend to become very efficient with the running movement. So the only movement that they're efficient in is actually running or jogging or the Stairmaster or the elliptical. Now conversely, the adaptation that takes place with high intensity functional training is that you adapt to everyday life. And the beauty of doing high intensity functional training is that you are doing all of these different type movements and you're mixing them up, doing them at a high intensity so that your body can adapt to all of these movements. And this is a really, really cool thing because now what happens is that you become better at squatting, which you need in everyday life. You become better at deadlifting, which is picking things up off the floor. You become better at getting off of the floor by doing burpees. So you become better actually by doing high intensity training. You become better at running, better at sprinting, better at jumping. And when you look at it, to be a great mom, to be a great dad, to be a better athlete, you need to be able to do all these things, to do them well, and be able to do them well for as long as possible in order to maintain your independence and have a great, fun life filled with health, filled with fitness, and filled with vitality. So this is the difference between cardio and high-intensity functional training, and this is one of the reasons on the T28 resource page why all of the workouts in the Transformation book, all of the workouts are only going to be a few minutes long because it's really all you need in order to elicit that hormone response in order to become better at everyday life. So I hope this helps you with your pursuit of fitness. Remember, high-intensity functional training is king.